Sometimes I've seen a very odd and peculiar message being spread around the internet that says that self-improvement is fueled with self-hate and hatred for who you are, and is almost like self-harm in a way. And I could not by any stretch of the imagination understand what the writer or whatever was going for or coming from that particular statement. Self-improvement being fueled with a hatred for who you were as a person is not necessarily, like, it's phrased, it makes sense. Disliking who you used to be, that's not necessarily such a heinous crime in a way. If you didn't like who you were, maybe let's set the scene. Let's make some kind of context here. There's you 5 years ago, you just were living your life, and then one day you were on the internet and you discovered self-improvement. You discovered that there were people out there who were like really muscular, really rich. They had loads of like big houses and cars, and they were living the life they wanted to. And then suddenly you obtained this depression, this bad mental health, because you realized that there were people out there that were having loads and loads of more fun because they put in the hours and the work and stuff like that. And you suddenly almost become hateful and disliking of who you are as a person because you've sort of consumed all this content. And I personally don't like content consumption. You can do this. I used to like be in this exact situation where I was like jealous of people on the internet and stuff, and I'm sure that many people can resonate with me on that. But then obviously if I don't like who I am now, I'm going to put in the steps. I'm going to try to learn how to change. So you almost need this phase of self-dislike if you want to improve, because humans are quite instant creatures. We want things now. Our thoughts happen so quickly that we can just imagine years in the future within seconds. So if I'm like this kid, I suddenly like get loads of thoughts imagining the person that I want to be that I'm currently not. Of course, chances are I'm going to get a bit sad about it because I know that I'm going to have to put in a lot of work and stuff, and that then you go on that journey. So yes, it's kind of like fueled with, it's two opposite statements. You're fueled with not necessarily wanting to live the life that was set out for you, and you want to be more and do more with yourself, but you also, you can be fueled with being not want to be this person that you were, but you can also be fueled with wanting to be this person that is your destiny. That's like that's the exact same phrase. Saying self-improvement is fueled with a dislike for who you were and who you are, potentially in some people's cases, could also be the exact same phrase as self-improvement is fueled by who you want to be when you are 10 years in the future. They are the exact same phrases, just put in completely different context. And I find that a very interesting thing, because I just never understood why this phrase existed. Saying self-improvement is like self-harm and fueled with self-hatred and utter disgust just never made sense to me, because it's like, if you never wanted to be this person and you had poor mental health because you discovered that you wanted to be more, that's fair enough. You don't have to be like the whole body positivity things, the whole self-acceptance. You don't have to be this person. If you don't want to be this person, if you want to be more than who you are in this situation, then that's fine. You don't have to be them, and you can take the steps to being a different person. I mean, you're still yourself, of course, but you can take the steps to like improve yourself and make progress in many areas of life. That's understandable. So saying that self-improvement is fueled by self-hatred and utter disgust, and saying that that is particularly a bad thing, because one is quite a bit of an exaggeration. No one is utterly disgusted at themselves for who they used to be. I'm not disgusted at who I used to be a year ago or 2 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever age it was, because I know that I didn't necessarily have the knowledge 7 years ago to make progress in my life like I currently am doing now. That's just an unreasonable pressure to put on your younger self, put on something that's been and gone and cannot literally be changed. It's an unreasonable stress on the mind. It's unnecessary. And so that's why I don't do that. But it is quite a bit of an exaggeration to say that it's fueled by utter disgust, utter hatred, just self-harm. It's stupid, but because no one who is on self-improvement thinks like that about their younger self. When they've actually made a tangible amount of progress, they may hate, like, sort of, not hate themselves, but they may feel a sadness about who they are in this stage of life. But when they make some tangible amount of progress, they'll be thankful for this person. They'll be thankful for their younger self. They won't hate their younger self. They'll be thankful for this person who was feeling sad at the time, and because they were the ones that made the decision to make the tangible amount of progress. No one thinks like that they are fueled by constant self-hatred, because even once you get to this stage and then you realize that you still want to make more progress, you do want to still go to the gym, carry on doing deep work tasks, and like go to school, get educated, find knowledge, do all that sort of stuff. You're not fueled by like the hatred for who you currently are. That the reason for self-improvement isn't that you hate who you currently are, it's that you know you can be more. It's fulfilling your destiny and fulfilling your potential. It's not fueled by some kind of self-harm in a way. People saying that self-improvement is like self-harm, that just seems like the most misconstrued statement on planet Earth. Self-harm is eating Haribos for all your meals a day because it tastes nice, but people will say that that's like, oh, you're being good to yourself, you're being kind to yourself. That's not self-harm, even though by some sort of scientific definition, that is more self-harm than not eating Haribos and having some eggs on avocado on toast for breakfast, having some porridge in the evenings, having some nice dinner that's been cooked by your family at like 4 p.m. or something like that. That's not self-harm. That's just living a life that you want to live. But eating Haribos, like, hopefully you understand what I'm coming from by this. Eating awfully cooked and processed food and saying that it's some kind of self-acceptance. You're accepting who you are, you're being kind to yourself because this stuff apparently tastes really nice. That's a whole other thing that I'm going to talk about in a minute's time or whatever. It just doesn't make sense that because you're being self-accepting and you're being kind to yourself, that is somehow better than potentially feeling guilty about doing that. And I mean, once you're on self-improvement, you don't have to, because you've gone on self-improvement, you don't have to feel guilty about the one time you have a burger meal out with your friends, because you've been on self-improvement. But if that's what you're doing on a daily basis, instead of doing it 80-20 in the direction where 80% is spent healthily and 20% is spent like enjoying yourself in that kind of sense, if you're 80-20 in the other direction, then that's a bit of a problem, and you're not necessarily being self-accepting. You are literally self-harming yourself. You are literally decreasing your lifespan and your probability to suffer from certain non-communicable diseases. That is actually self-harm. That is actually scientifically, you are detrimenting your body's physical capabilities. But if you're having a good diet, you're having a nice dinner that's been cooked by your family, you're having some healthy breakfast and healthy sort of supper in the evenings and mornings, how is that, in any stretch of the imagination, self-harm? How can that possibly be self-harm? But eating fast food on a daily basis be something like self-accepting and being caring for yourself? Because there's a divide between mindset. What many people who aren't on self-improvement and the ones who say these sort of things don't understand, they think that eggs on toast, having healthy porridge, that is disgusting. That they think that kind of food just tastes absolutely horrible. But when you do get on self-improvement, when you rewire your brain in such a way that these things actually sort of taste nice, and the maybe slight lack of taste from the less salt or less sugar or whatever, you because the way that your mindset has changed, that slight deficit of happiness gained from taste-wise is completely made up by the fact that you know you're doing the right thing for your health and for your body. So you are happier. Compare the happiness people that have gone to get a McDonald's egg muffin or something for breakfast, and compare someone who like had some eggs and avocado that was cooked from the comfort of their own kitchen. Compare the two sort of people's happiness, and you'll realise that the marginal happiness that the person who ate the egg muffin gained because it tasted slightly better to them is so much less than the happiness that these people who eat their healthy breakfasts gain from knowing that they're doing the correct, objectively sort of scientifically correct thing in a weird sort of way. It's not self-harm because they're eating something that is more disgusting, which isn't even true in any stretch of the imagination. They're not self-harming themselves because they're doing that. And this isn't exactly self-care or self-acceptance either. Self-care is, it's like self-harm is doing 80-20 in the wrong direction. Self-care is doing 80-20 in the right, correct direction. But people seem to think that it's the other way around because people on both sides don't understand each other's mindsets. I mean, I can't understand because I don't exactly have fast food very much anymore. It doesn't even taste that nice to me. If I ever do have some kind of particularly unhealthy meal, it just doesn't even taste nice to me anymore because, one, like, there is a slight decrease in happiness because I know that this is not the most correct and righteous thing that I could possibly be doing. But it doesn't even taste that nice anyway. I prefer to have some porridge with some fruit and like some bananas and stuff like that, some nuts, than like have a McDonald's burger. Does that not seem, at least for people who are on self-improvement, like a reasonable thing to want? Because that tastes nice and you know you're doing the right thing, so that also gives you a level of happiness as well. I really hope that you do understand me, where I'm coming from on this, because I just don't get where people are coming from when they say that self-improvement is self-harm, and like not going on self-improvement and sort of being accepting of who you are is like self-care. And it just doesn't make sense whatsoever, because you are objectively like harming yourself more by caring for yourself because you have the McDonald's burger as a treat every evening, or you have the McMuffin every single morning or something like that. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, hope you kind of resonate with me and understand what I'm saying. But with that, I recommend subscribing because I like this community of young tribal people who are willing to improve themselves so much more than they already have. And good luck.